Hey, what's going on guys? It's me, Aiden, from Cartoon Apocalypse, and welcome back to another episode analysis of Miraculous Ladybug. And I am at a loss of words for this episode that just released, which was Feast, and if you didn't know that, go watch it right now, because it was, like, really good. Now, I know I said that Ladybug was my favorite episode in the entirety of Miraculous Ladybug, but honestly, Feast is really close to that point too. I'll have to do some thinking about it because Ladybug was just so much better than anything else we had seen previously, but Feast has so many lore-y things and we just learned so much stuff from this episode that I don't know where to place it. It's either like really close to Ladybug, exactly tied with Ladybug, or like above Ladybug. It's really good. So I'm just going to be talking about this episode, and I would really recommend watching the entire video through because there is a lot of stuff to talk about, and a lot of this stuff is really big and could have a huge impact in the future seasons of this show. But before we get into this video, I want to talk about my sponsor, me. It's me. So basically, if you like anime, more specifically My Hero Academia, but just in general anime, you can go subscribe to my new Anime Apocalypse channel. And I plan to do videos on there. It's still in its rolling out phase, but it is now live, so you can go check that channel out. Link is down in the description below, so make sure you go check that out for more content coming to you guys. But yeah, now back to this normally scheduled video. So we start out with Alia just saying, hey, Miraculouses have been around for a while now, they all have this same symbol, and so we've seen them all throughout history. And this new statue has that same symbol on it coincidentally, which we will learn that it is a senti monster later on in this episode, but we don't know that until we get to Master Fu. So Ladybug, or Marionette, is a little bit worried about all of Alia's findings because she has pretty much determined a lot about the miraculous holders and the powers and things. So she goes to Master Fu, and Master Fu's like, alright, it's all good. She was bound to find this out sooner or later, but then she cuts to this statue, and this statue is a big deal. So to sum it up, Master Fu was taken from his parents to work at the Temple of the Miraculous to become a new guardian. Now he didn't want to become a guardian, it was just something that his parents pretty much made him do after he was recommended it or something. So then he begins work in the temple and he begins doing apprentice-y type stuff. And one of these things that he had to do was watch the miracle box for 24 straight hours without any food. And since Master Fu didn't really want to be there, he kind of took matters into his own hands by getting into the miracle box. So Master Fu takes the Peacock Miraculous and creates a senti monster to be his companion and to go get him some food. Now because his hunger kind of mixed with this anger of not really wanting to be there, it kind of got out of hand. So the senti monster goes out and eats all of the Miraculouses except for the miracle box that we know. And this is really big. This means that there are a bunch of other Miraculouses, and this makes complete sense. In one of the Miraculous books, I think it's like a comic, it explains how the Miraculouses is just an object that connects an idea or an emotion to an object. So the Miraculous, let's just take the Peacock Miraculous for example, that's an object that binds the Kwami of that emotion. So I guess in this case the Peacock Miraculous is like an emotion, I guess, I don't know. But basically that binds it, allowing the Kwami to appear in the real world. Now I'll have the link to this page and article, like the Wikia site, down in the description below so you can read up more on it if you would like. But basically, I was kind of confused because, like, okay, we only have, what, like 20 Kwamis or something? And there's obviously a lot more emotions and ideas, like creation is an idea, and then, like, Hawkmoths, that's an emotion. And so basically, that would mean that there are a lot more Miraculouses. And that was proven in this episode. There are a bunch more Miraculouses, and that was really interesting to see. Now, I'll touch more on this later on in this video, but for now, let's just leave it that the Senti monster eats all the Miraculouses except for the main box. And I am thinking that the box, like the miracle box that we have now, that's going to be like the main central most powerful box, because I don't know, it just seems fitting. Especially since the other boxes we saw were more rectangle, and then the one that we see now is like an octagon. So I think that the main box is the one that we see in the show. And then also I should mention that Master Fu had an apprentice staff, and he mentioned something about that being able to help him control his power. So that could be important because, I don't know, the staff helps him control the power, so maybe it makes him more powerful and then he can control that power or something. I'm not exactly too sure. So then Master Fu takes the last Guardian box as well as the Grimoire, and then he just runs. And luckily, as the Senti monster is chasing him, it falls into a pit of lava. Now Master Fu explains how he's gonna take Ladybug and Cat Noir's Miraculous away and just run away because he wants to get as far away from the Senti monster as possible. So then we cut to Gabriel and Natalie, and basically Gabriel is just like, alright, this is a Senti monster, and then Natalie says, yes, it is a Senti monster. So then Gabriel's like, hey, go activate it tonight. And then we get some interesting confirmation. Now Adrian learns that Natalie is getting some dizzy spells, and an interesting about that, and the reason why Adrian was so worried about Natalie, is that his mother got dizzy spells. Now, we know that this is from using the Peacock Miraculous, and what this means is Adrian's mother was using the Peacock Miraculous for some reason. Now, we know the reason that Gabriel is using the Hawkmoth Miraculous is because he wants to bring Emily back. But why were they using, or at least Emily, why was she using the Peacock Miraculous beforehand? She had no reason to, because she probably wasn't doing good, or maybe she was, I don't know, but she was using it, that's a fact that we know, and so she was probably the one who caused it to be damaged, if it wasn't just from being out in the terrain or something, or maybe, I'm pretty sure that she's the one who damaged it, because the odds of it being damaged beforehand aren't very high, so it probably happened between the time that it was found and then that Natalie and Gabriel had it. So something's definitely going on, and there is definitely a deeper story to this entire story, I guess. So I'm really excited to see what goes on. Another thing that we learned from this episode is that you can akumatize a Senti monster, and that's pretty interesting. Like, now we're just seeing the capabilities of these powers, like, well, in Ladybug we got to see an amakatized object, and now in this episode we get to see an akumatized Senti monster. So that seems pretty cool. So then Master Fu goes ahead and takes the Miraculous from Adrian and Cat Noir. Now my question is, how did Master Fu, or like Waze, how did he get past the aggressed household security? I don't know, I guess maybe they don't detect Kwamis or something, I don't know. Anyway, he gets past, and then he just, like, this whole scene where he was, like, riding with traffic on his little cart thing, I was laughing throughout that entire scene, because how was he outrunning traffic? Like, he was using a bike, and he was outrunning traffic, and I don't know. I just thought that was super funny. Just that whole scene, and then when Adrian shows up with the banana costume, like, that was a meme created from Party Crasher, and now we know where it originated from. So, like, I don't know. When I saw that, I laughed, but that begs the question, who was in the banana costume during Party Crasher? Was it Adrian? I don't think so, but I don't know. Like, that's another theory for some other time, I guess. So Marinette and Adrian, now disguised as Biker Girl and Banana Boy, go out and try to assist Master Fu, and the way that they do that is by getting other people to risk their cars and stuff to try to slow down the Senti monster, even though it didn't work too well. So eventually, due to Marinette and Adrian's stubbornness, Master Fu is like, alright, fine, you can take the Miraculouses back. And we did see a point to where he tried to transform, and I was kind of sad that he didn't. Like, I don't know if we are going to end up seeing Jade Turtle, simply because this is the second time he tried to transform, and his back problems don't allow him to do that. So I don't know if we'll end up seeing him end up transform, like maybe we will in the finale, I don't know. but I really want to see him transform because we did see that concept art for Jade Turtle, and if we don't, I'm just going to be kind of disappointed because that's what I was honestly expecting from this episode, but we didn't get it. But that's alright because this episode had a lot of stuff in it, and if they added that, I feel like we would have just had to rush the episode more. And one thing about this episode is it didn't feel too rushed. I mean, they definitely could have took their time if it was extended, but honestly, they didn't need to, so I thought the spacing of this episode was pretty good. Now, when Ladybug and Cat Noir get eaten by the Sending monster, we get to see, I don't know, just this whole scene was pretty cool. Like, we had to see some cool stuff, and I do want to point this one thing out, because I think that if my accusation is correct, the thing to the left here, that's a miracle box. That's my guess, but that would be really cool if that's just a site of another miracle box, because I mean, it is square, but like it makes sense. I mean, it matches what you would think, and then it looks kind of old and rustic, and it seems like something that they would put in here because hey, this monster ended up eating the miracle boxes, so I mean, it makes sense that that would be found in there. But then they end up destroying the master staff, or the apprentice staff, I guess it was, and then that ends up just breaking the Akuma and the Amok, I guess. So then Gabriel is obviously super mad because he thought that this was his opportunity, even though he thinks that like every single time. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're left off. We see some more conditions from Natalie, like, oh, she's not doing so well, but that's true for like every episode we see Mayura. But then the final thing in this episode, which completely blew me away and I was not expecting whatsoever, the temple's back. The Guardian Temple is now back, and all of the old Guardians are there, and what we can assume, the Miraculouses. The rest of the Miraculouses are now back, and they are existent now. So what does that mean? That technically means that if Hawkmoth really tried hard enough, he could turn into Scarlet Moth again. I mean, depending on if Natalie was in good enough condition to or not, but pretty much he could basically recreate his army of akumatized people, go storm this, take all the Miraculouses that are in there, because from what we know, there's at least 2 or maybe 3 miracle boxes, probably even more, but he can just storm that, take all those Miraculouses, and then what he would have is an army of miraculous wielders in which he could superpower by using an Akuma, and basically just create a super army where we would have to see Ladybug and her team with her army all using pretty much every single Miraculous in the current Miraculous box that she has, and that would be facing up against Hawkmoth and his huge, super overpowered Miraculous evil army. Now that's kind of what could happen. Is it gonna happen? I don't think so. Master Fu didn't seem too worried about it. He was like, oh, that's pretty cool. The temple was restored. I'll have to go visit them sometime. So obviously with that, you wouldn't really think that anything that big would happen because Master Fu wasn't really too worried about it and they didn't hint to it at all in the show. But really, if the show really wanted to get plot related, which it's not going to get that plot related, I guarantee it, that'd be like the super mega finale of this show if they were to do something like that huge army. But yeah, it's not gonna happen, I guarantee it. And I also should talk about that this was the episode where Hawkmoth now knows who Master Fu is, and that's basically why he has to go into hiding. So it wasn't Kwami Buster, and I was expecting it would be Feast as well, so that's pretty cool. But just as an ending note, now the whole world knows that the Miraculouses are related to this symbol, and now the whole world knows that this temple, wherever it is, I can't remember where they said that this was, they now know that this temple is related to the symbol that Alia said is related to the Miraculous holders, and now that this temple magically appeared, they don't know that there's more Miraculouses there, but they could make the assumption that, hey, there might be some cool powers there, and go storm it. Not gonna happen again. But it does seem like that would be something that you would think would happen. Like, hey, there's this big magical thing that magically reappeared. Like, shouldn't we go check it out? I don't know. I mean, they did check it out, so there are Guardians there. But seriously, though, if somebody I don't know, like an arm. Actually, a couple superheroes could probably take out like an army or something. Like, but an army of Hawkmoth people, I don't think would stand a chance. Especially since, like, well, I don't know how I don't know if they would feel the couple hundred years that they were stuck into the Seni monster. I don't know. Either way, I feel like people are gonna try to come take Miraculouses and stuff, but whatever. They're not gonna explore that in this show. But yeah, this episode had a lot of plot stuff, like a lot of plot stuff, and that makes it one of my favorite episodes. If it's not my first favorite one, then it's my second favorite one. And if this is my first favorite one, the Ladybug's my second favorite one. But seriously, this episode had a lot of info in it. Like, this is an example of an episode that we should be getting more often. And hopefully with Season 4, we will be seeing it more often. But, like, I don't know. Like, it's Miraculous. It's kind of what you'd expect, not getting an episode like this, like, once a season. We didn't really get an episode like this in Season 2, did we? I don't think so. Not like a super lore-heavy one. Like, in Season 1, we had the Origins episodes, and then this is, like, the equivalent of that. So, I don't know. This was super cool. Loved the story at the beginning. We learned a lot, and this is truly such a good episode. But that's going to be it for me. If you did enjoy, you can leave a like and subscribe for more content similar to this. But, yeah. I'll talk to you guys later. Goodbye.
Hi there, Bugaboo.
Cat Noir, is that you?
Of course it is. Who else would you expect by your side?